So today we're doing activity 22-2. We're going to start by talking about your guys' calculators. I know not everybody has the same type, but I will get to everybody. So before we start that, let me give you sort of an analogy. Let's say I tell you that tomorrow is going to be 70 degrees outside. That would be good for all of us, right? 70 sounds pretty good. Now, would it matter if it's 70 Celsius or 70 Fahrenheit? That's going to make a big difference, right? What do we normally talk about? Fahrenheit. Here's some conversion I looked up. If I said tomorrow's going to be 70, and I didn't tell you, and it was Celsius, that is actually 70 Celsius is 158 degrees Fahrenheit. So you have to actually, we all know what we're talking about because it's understood Fahrenheit. But it is important that you know what somebody's talking about. Another conversion I wrote was 100 Fahrenheit, so pretty hot for what we're used to, is 38 degrees Celsius. Here's the reason I bring this up. If your calculator is not in the right mode, it's going to be like talking about Celsius and Fahrenheit. So you could type in the same thing and get two different answers if you're in two different modes. Let me show you what I mean. Go to mode. It is by the blue key. If you don't have a calculator like this, I will come to you. Go down to where it says degree. So you might see radian. Go over to where it says degree and hit enter. Now, to get to your main screen again, you hit second, quit. I'm going to have you guys type in something to see if you're in the right mode. So go ahead and type in, there's a button that says SIN, which is short for sign. I know to you it looks like sin, but it's short for the word sign. Find the word SIN and type 90, enter. If you're in the correct mode, you should get 1. Now go back to mode. Put it in what we call radians. We are not going to be doing radians, but I want to show you what happens. Let me hit second, quit. Hit sign 90. Hit enter. Do you get the same thing? No. No. Now, those are pretty close. But there's times when they are way off. Like you can get a negative and you can get a positive. They could be way off. So we want our calculator in degree mode. So let's all put it back in degree mode. We're going to keep it in degree mode all the time. Go to mode, put it in degree mode. A check that you can always do is sine of 90, and you should get 1. I'm going to walk around. If you hit sine 90, you get 1. I think with these calculators, I don't know that they have 2 modes, so it might always be, but that's how you do it. Okay, do you see a mode button? I was looking earlier but if you just make sure when you do it, you hit sine of 90 and you fix down. Let's put on the top of our notes, right by where it says, make sure your calculator's in degree mode, check. Sine of 90 should be 1. Of course, you can go to the mode and do it. This is just a double check. Like, yep, my calculator is ready. If you borrow one of mine, just know somebody may change it for a different class. Or if it gets reset, they automatically reset to radian, and we don't want that. So every time you grab a calculator, even if you used it last, it's always good to double check it so you don't get all the wrong answers. I will do my best to remind you on quiz and test days to be in degree mode, but it is on you to make sure you're there for every notes, homework, all that stuff. Okay, let's do some other practice calculations. Sine, that can be abbreviated SIN, like we've already talked about. Cosine was right by the sign button. We abbreviate that COS. And of course, you saw right by those buttons, there's a tangent button, which we abbreviate tangent. Let's just make sure we can type things in. So let's type, let's all type in sine of 18 and a half. down to hundredths. Bless you. Is that what your calculator is telling you? Okay, let's practice another one. Let's do cosine of 88. I got 0.03. Let's do tangent of 55. Let's see what you get. The nearest hundredth, I get 1.43. So now we know how to put our calculator in the right mode. We know how to work with the buttons. Today is just an introduction to these functions. On Monday, you'll see like why it's important, when we use it. Today is just kind of like a brief look into it. So if you're not sure what we're doing with it, that's okay. This is just an introduction for today. These are called the three trig functions. I would write that down. Sine, cosine, and tangent are called the trig functions. Does anybody know what trig is short for? Yeah. Trigonometry. Yeah, we used to have a class called trigonometry. Now, trigonometry is just kind of pieced into different classes. So if I say trig or trig function, I'm referring to the sine, the cosine, and tangent. Your note says, don't forget, I'm going to give you an acronym. Do you guys all know the acronym, never eat soggy waffles? That helps you remember what? Northeast, southwest. So I'm going to give you an acronym today that's going to help you with some things. The acronym is SOHCAHTOA. You're like, that's so tricky. That's not even going to be helpful because I can't even spell it. I understand it's hard. It's going to be worth it. This is how you spell it. SOHCAHTOA. This is not something I made up. This is not something specific to Herscher or to Illinois. This is probably nationwide. Every student who takes geometry, which is like everybody, will learn SOHCAHTOA. Okay, it's hard to spell. The more you do it, you'll probably write it a couple times a day. You'll start to get it, and it will be worth it to figure out how to spell it. Do you have an idea why I'm underlining those? For each trig function, right? Sine, cosine, tangent. Let's write down sine equals. What is sine? Sine is the ratio of two sides. Which sides? The opposite over the hypotenuse. Cosine is the ratio of two sides. The adjacent over hypotenuse. I bet you can guess the last one. Tan is a ratio of two sides. What do you think? Opposite over adjacent. SOHCAHTOA. Number 3, find the trig ratios from each angle. We're going to do it together. So I want you to write sine, cosine, tan. And we are going to go from angle A. So we're going to write sine of A, cosine of A, and tan of A. please put a big dot at A. We will erase it in a minute, but we need it right now. That is our focal point. It's like where we're standing. Here's what we need to do. We need to follow SOHCAHTOA. Sine is opposite. Which side, 3, 4, or 5, is opposite of angle A? 4. Now I'm on to the hypotenuse. 3, 4, 5. Which of those is the hypotenuse of the triangle? 5. That's it. That's how we do trig ratios. We just have to find the correct sides when we're talking about, in this case, angle A. Let's do cosine of A. Here's the formula, adjacent. Now, please look at the board. Adjacent means next to. There are 2 sides that are next to that angle. It does matter which we pick. So how do we know which one? Any guesses? What do you think? Perfect. There's always going to be 2, but one of them is the hypotenuse. So you're not going to pick that one. You're going to pick the one that's not the hypotenuse. Okay, our bottom number is the hypotenuse of the triangle, which is 5. Now we're going to do the tangent ratio. We need first opposite. Which side is opposite of where we're at? 4. What side are we calling adjacent? 3. Pretty easy, right? If you can remember SOHCAHTOA, then all those numbers just fall right into place. Now we're going to do sine, cosine, and tan from angle B. We are not going to do angle C. There's a very important reason why we're not. I would erase your dot at A. We are now standing at angle B. Put a dot at angle B. Let's start at the beginning. We're going to do sine. So here we go. Opposite. Which side, 3, 4, or 5, is opposite of where I'm standing at B? 3. What is the hypotenuse of the triangle? 5. I think you guys have got it figured out. Cosine. Let's follow what it says. Adjacent. Again, there are 2 sides that are touching or adjacent, the 4 and the 5. Which one do we have to pick? 4, the one that's not the hypotenuse. My bottom number is the hypotenuse of the triangle, which is 5. And finally, tan. Formula, opposite first. The opposite side is 3. Adjacent, 4. Questions? Okay, don't flip the page yet. There's 2 things I want to discuss. Number 1, we never do the right angle. Here's why. Just watch up here, but I would not write this down. If I try to do cosine of angle C, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. Here's C. Do you notice there's 2 sides adjacent and neither is the hypotenuse? That's why we can't do it. We don't do any of the trig ratios from C. So when your directions say find the trig ratios from each angle, just know, don't do the right angle, do the other 2. There's a pattern that always happens. Do you notice some patterns? The sine of this is the same as the cosine of the other angle. And it works again. The sine here, 3/5, is the same as the cosine here. Your tangent ratios will always be What do we call that? Close. Reciprocal. Yep, reciprocals. Tans will always be reciprocals. Turn the page. Try to spell SOHCAHTOA from memory, and I'll tell you if you got it. Don't look back, just try it. SOHCAHTOA. We know it's got 3 letters. 3 letters. 3 letters. We know it's S something, O sign something, tangent something. So, normally in English, so is spelled S-O. But we got to have 3 letters. So it's S-O-H. Ka. You can hear the A there. So, ka. O-A. The instructions, find the trig ratios from each angle. Will we do it from all 3 angles? Not from the right angle. So we'll do sine, cosine, tangent from K, sine, cosine, tangent from M. I'm going to get you started, and then I will let you do some on your own. What do you guys want to start with first? Which angle? Nobody cares. All right, I'm going to do K. Here we go. I'm going to start with sine. I need the opposite. From angle K, the opposite side is 10. The hypotenuse of the triangle is 26. That simplifies. Those can both be divided by 2. And you do need to simplify. I'm going to let you finish those, and then I'm going to have you do 3 trig functions from the other angle. Go ahead, take your time. Oh, right there. So, well, you probably don't need to know this, but it says degree right there. It's nice that yours actually tells because ours is. You have to simplify your ratio, your fraction. It doesn't matter. Huh? Yeah, I don't need. Oh, but no. Okay, raise your hand if you want some more time. All right, I'm going back from angle K. So I've got this highlighted. That's where I'm looking. I'm doing adjacent. So 24. The hypotenuse of the triangle is 26. That simplifies to 12/13. Tangent is opposite, so not touching or across from. Opposite over adjacent. 24 5/12. Now I'm going to focus on angle M, and I'm going to do the same type of thing. So my sine comes out to 24 over 26. My cosine is 10 over 26. My tangent is 10. Now what you guys got? Did those patterns exist here? Is the sine of one the cosine of the other? Sine of this angle is the cosine of this angle. Sine of this angle is the cosine of this one. And my tangents are reciprocals. Your homework is pretty much just like this. Make sure you simplify your fraction always. And always make sure you're in degree mode. Go ahead and start that.